You think your marriage is safe until one message destroys everything. That's what happened to me. One evening, while my wife was in the shower, her phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen, and my heart froze. A text from her boss. "Hope your dumb husband doesn't get suspicious." My head spun. My chest tightened. I thought it was a mistake. A joke, maybe. But no. My gut told me something was terribly wrong. My wife had always been kind, sweet, loyal, or so I thought. We had built dreams together, struggled together, loved together. And yet here was this message. A single line that made me question every moment, every laugh, every late-night conversation we ever had. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask her right there. But I stayed silent. Because sometimes silence is stronger than anger. That night, I decided I wouldn't confront her immediately. I wanted the truth. Not guesses, not assumptions, the raw truth. And to get that, I had to play smarter than both of them. I didn't know where this would lead. But deep down, I knew one thing. My life was about to change forever. The next morning, I acted normal. I kissed her cheek, wished her a good day, and smiled like nothing had happened. Inside, my heart was burning. I followed her routine carefully. She left for work at 8:30, coffee in hand, phone buzzing with notifications. I decided to test something. I called her office around 10 and asked the receptionist for her. She said my wife had stepped out with her boss for a meeting. A meeting? On a day she told me she would be at her desk all day? My suspicion grew heavier. That evening, I checked her bag when she was in the kitchen. Receipts from a fancy restaurant. 2 meals. A bottle of wine. Yet she had told me she skipped lunch. Lies. Small ones, but sharp enough to cut. That night, as she slept peacefully beside me, I stared at the ceiling and realized I had 2 choices: confront her and risk being fed more lies, or collect evidence so she couldn't escape the truth. I chose the second and I downloaded a simple app that allowed me to sync her messages to my laptop. It felt wrong, but what was worse, betrayal or watching my marriage crumble without answers? Soon, the messages started to pour in. At first, they looked like work discussions, deadlines, projects. But then came the late-night chats. "I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Your husband has no idea. Last night was amazing." My hands shook as I read them. The woman I vowed to protect, the woman I loved, was talking about nights I didn't know about, memories I wasn't part of. My soul felt crushed. Yet strangely, I didn't cry. My pain turned into cold determination. They thought I was the dumb husband. Fine. I would let them believe that, until I had everything I needed. I started following her discreetly. Once, she said she was going to visit her friend. I parked near her office instead. And there she was, stepping out with her boss, holding his hand like they were a couple. They laughed, walked into a hotel, and vanished for hours. I sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion. It was reality. But here's the thing, I didn't storm in. I didn't create a scene. Because revenge tastes better when served cold. I pulled out my phone, took pictures, and quietly drove away. Over the next week, I built my case. Screenshots of texts, restaurant receipts, pictures from different days. I even recorded a call when she whispered, "I love you," to him, thinking I was asleep. Each piece of evidence was like a knife in my chest, but I kept going. I wasn't just a betrayed husband anymore. I was a man preparing for war. Finally, I had enough proof. But instead of confronting her, I wanted them both to feel the weight of their choices. So I made a plan. I reached out to HR at her company anonymously, sending them the screenshots and photos. Affairs with bosses? Companies don't tolerate that, especially when it involves power abuse. Then I called her parents and invited them for dinner. I prepared everything, laid out the evidence neatly on the table. That evening, my wife walked in, smiling as if nothing was wrong. Her parents sat with me, confused but calm. Then I pushed the file toward her. "Explain this," I said. Her face drained of color. She tried to deny it at first. Said it was fake. Said I was paranoid. But when her mother opened the file and saw her own daughter's face in those photos, the room went silent. Her father looked at her with pure disappointment. My wife broke down crying, begging for forgiveness. It was a mistake. I didn't mean it. It just happened. But no mistake lasts months. No mistake hides in hotel rooms and texts about love. I stayed quiet, watching her unravel. Her boss, meanwhile, was suspended pending investigation. Word spread quickly. His reputation? Shattered. My wife's career? Ruined. The days that followed were chaos. She begged me to stay. Said she would cut all ties, change jobs, do anything. But trust isn't something you glue back together once it's shattered. I thought of all the nights I stayed up late working so she could rest. All the sacrifices I made to build a future for us. And yet, she gambled it all for temporary excitement. I realized I didn't lose her. She lost me. I filed for divorce. The process was painful, but every signature felt like I was reclaiming my dignity. She tried reaching out, tried sending long letters of regret. But my heart had turned to stone. I wasn't the dumb husband anymore. I was the man who had been underestimated, only to rise stronger than ever. And here's the truth I want you to take with you. Betrayal hurts, but it also opens your eyes. It shows you people's true faces. My wife and her boss thought they could outsmart me. They thought I would never see past their lies. But in the end, they destroyed themselves with their own actions. Sometimes, revenge is not about shouting or fighting. Sometimes, the best revenge is letting them lose everything they risked for nothing. And walking away, with your head held high. After the divorce papers were signed, I walked out of the courthouse feeling strangely empty. Not victorious. Not broken. Just free. You'd think revenge would taste sweet, that watching her world crumble would fill me with satisfaction. And yes, there was a moment, a sharp flash, where I felt justice had been served. But beneath that, there was still grief. Because I wasn't just losing a wife. I was losing the person I once thought was my best friend. The woman I trusted with my deepest fears and wildest dreams. And knowing she gave that trust away so easily, it was like mourning someone who died, except she was still alive, just not the same person anymore. Nights were the hardest. I'd lie awake, replaying every moment of our past, trying to pinpoint where things went wrong. Was it me? Did I miss the signs? Or was she always capable of betrayal, and I was too blinded by love to see it? But then I reminded myself of that message. Hope your dumb husband doesn't get suspicious. That wasn't love. That wasn't weakness. That was cruelty. And it was enough to remind me that walking away wasn't just a choice. It was survival.